Hey, how are you? How are you all? Good to see you.
Hola,
Um,
Juan.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Sprinkling.
Buenas tardes, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo va?
Buenas
¿Todo bien?
tardes, ¿qué tal?
Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien. ¿De dónde eres tú? ¿Dónde estás?
Yo estoy en Turquía, en Bodrum, cerca de David.
En, en Turquía, vale. Yo estoy en
Nice.
Berlín. Yo estoy en Berlín.
En Berlin. Ah, vale.
Ah,
Qué
dann
bien.
können wir auch Deutsch reden, ja?
Sprechen. Wir können auch Deutsch sprechen. English as well.
Yeah. But I
It's
think
international.
for yes, for the international audience, we'll stick to English, even though my Spanish could definitely need some practice. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
do this here in English.
we can we can do some webinars in Spanish.
Amazing mix of
All right,
people.
everybody.
Nice.
Excited to see you all, and I'm very happy to have Tim here today. He's running one of my companies called Task Drive, and Tim is an absolute super nerd when it comes to tools and GPT. ChatGPT is his best friend. I think he talks to it more than he talks to his wife. So you're in it for a treat. And yeah, without further ado, I'll just like pass it over to Tim, and he'll rock the show. And we can make this interactive. Of course, you can always ask questions or like write in the chat. Also, just unmute yourself and say like, "Hey, what's going on? How does this work?" So let's make this interactive and not just like a recorded webinar that you watch, because I think then everybody will get more out of it. Cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Then Tim, let's roll. Show is yours.
Thank you very much, David. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the great introduction. Yes, sadly, like I say, sadly, yeah. If you ask my wife, that is a big problem in our relationship. AI. If you ask me, it's an amazing. It's amazing. So, but yeah, I think our relationship got. No, I'm not gonna say worse, because then maybe it's also good because I spend time with AI and she has less of me, and she's like, oh. I can, she doesn't have to listen to me all the time. But yeah, so ChatGPT is my BFF, as I say, my best friend forever, hopefully. And when it doesn't work, I get really upset because, sometimes it's down. Last webinar we did with David, actually, it was down, and I was very, very upset. But we still made it quite good. So as David mentioned as well, I think one of the great things about these webinars, and I love to do them, is more like a workshop. I call them a workshop instead of a webinar, because any questions you have, first of all, I'm checking the chat on the right side all the time. So please write it down, and I'll answer it as we go along. You can, of course, stop me and we can discuss something, because most of the time is relevant for everybody. And, let's have fun, because I think AI is fun. And I'm guessing that most of you are coaches. I think for coaches, ChatGPT and custom GPTs, which we're going to look at today, are one of the most important things, and they are absolutely super fun. But what we'll do is a quick slides just to have a little bit of a background about what are custom GPTs, and then I'll share my ChatGPT, and we'll look at a couple of things that I've built, just so that we warm up and then we can build something together. In the meantime, if anybody has an idea that they want to build a GPT-4 for coaching, but what type of coaching? Is there any framework they use or anything like that? You can put it on the chat, and when the time comes, we can build it live together. How's that sound to everybody? Thumbs up? Everybody okay? Yeah? Awesome. I do have some effects, so you might see some effects when I do thumbs up and stuff like that. So hopefully it doesn't bother, but it's quite fun. Thanks to Mac, we can do those. Awesome. So I'm gonna share my screen now. Boom. Just gonna make sure that it's nicely sized and that everybody can see it. Please give me a quick thumbs up if you can see it to make sure. Yeah, awesome, perfect. So welcome to the Custom GPT workshop for coaching. Okay, so usually I make them a little bit more generic, but today I really wanted to customize it a tiny bit for you guys, and talk about why ChatGPT and why GPTs are amazing for coaching. So we're gonna look at that. Here we go. Let me see. Cool. So the first thing is to understand why custom GPTs, because I'm sure you guys use ChatGPT. Who hasn't used ChatGPT? Anyone that hasn't used ChatGPT in here? Okay, no, I don't see any on the screen, but not everybody is on video, so I'll just check the chat quickly, but I think nobody said that. Okay, awesome. So you all use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is great, but it's also even better when you build your own version of it. Right? GPTs, it's your own mini version of ChatGPT. It's on top of ChatGPT, but with more than just your custom instructions, and some capabilities that we can choose, which we're going to look at in a minute. And it really makes it very unique and custom to you. Right? If you've seen online the news, there is going to be a memory function coming very soon. Some has access, some doesn't have access yet. But ChatGPT will be able to learn from all your chats, but also the GPTs will be able to learn from each use of it. And that's coming very soon, guys. So it's amazing to build it right now because it's just going to get more and more powerful. So for me, it's really to empower work. I do have this this formula that I say, this equation. Some people don't understand it. I still don't understand it sometimes. So I'm still optimizing that, but it's 1 plus AI equals to 5 minus AI. Means one person using AI can be equal to 5 people not using AI, right? Because you can be so much more productive, especially if you have GPTs built for you. They're like your little army. And this is why in the previous picture, let me see if I can just go back. I love that picture. Normally it's a robot person with its army of GPTs, right? And you'll see that a lot on my LinkedIn these days because I use Midjourney to make some really good imagery, and I love them. So the other thing is really Accenture was saying about a number that's really shocked me. Cyrus's question, I'm going to get to that in a second. So it's Accenture said that 62% of our work in general, average, not a role specific, but across all work is repetitive tasks. 62% of that's boring, right? I don't want to keep doing repetitive tasks. I don't like that. Why? Because I also have ADHD, so I find it very ADHD friendly because ChatGPT helps me really learn new things, do things in a different way, and it really helps me focus, and it really helps me be even more creative. So these are my reasons why custom GPTs, and I hope that you can relate to some of them. But since Cyrus brought a question, I'm gonna tap into that. So Cyrus, ChatGPT doesn't have a memory that is specific across all your chats, right? The only memory that it has is the thread itself at the moment. Right? So limited memory and limited to a specific conversation. This will extend across conversation and across time. James, thank you so much. Yes, so we do have some great people here to reply to some of these questions as well. But the craziness that is coming, and I love it. I say the craziness because I got the news. It was 10 p.m. I was about to go to bed. I couldn't go to bed. I got excited. I had to do a video about it and so on. Is that you'll be able to have two different types of chats. You'll have the regular chat where ChatGPT learns from it, and you'll have a temporary chat. So if you want to do something crazy and you don't want your ChatGPT to learn from it, you'll be able to do a temporary chat. But the great thing as well is that you'll have a section in your settings where it's going to tell you, oh, I learned that you have 2 kids. I learned that you live in Belgium. And it's going to have these little sentences and a little trash icon next to it. So it knows all this information from you and it keeps learning from all your chats, but you'll be able to delete them so that it forgets them, right? That's awesome. But when you start thinking about the GPT itself, because that's what we're talking today, and you're training a GPT into a specific use case by the custom instructions, the knowledge documents we're going to look at, and all that, think about that with memory on top, with learning each time it goes. Because right now we're just iterating the custom instructions, the knowledge documents. This is where it's just going to be very soon mind-blowing. That's awesome. Diane has already used. I'd love to build one to help people network at events. Okay, well, we can talk about that for sure. Amazing. So that's why custom GPTs. So today on the agenda, quick introduction, of course, understanding the GPT. So we're going to look a little bit about the technology, not dig into advanced stuff, but just a bit of the wording and stuff like that. And we're going to look at a few custom GPTs already for coaching. I chose one thread of mine that I used to use as my coach. Then I chose one that I built, and I chose one from an external source. So we're going to look at all 3, and then hopefully we're going to have enough time to build one live together. Usually we do get that time. So yeah, so I'm Tim, you know, I'm the CEO at Task Drive, as David said, one of David's companies, and we've just pivoted into something really amazing. It's not a pivot, it's upgrading, updating our services, and we do a lot of great stuff with AI. We give you powered virtual assistants. Another nickname of mine is Tooltime Tim. As David was saying that I'm obsessed about tools. Yes, so some people call me Tooltime Tim. And my new alter ego, I guess, is my AI magician side that I'm still practicing to make better pictures of myself looking like a magician. So the definition is really a generalized pre-trained transformer, right? But no need to really get into it. Tooltime Tim epic, yeah. It's Tim at the end, Lola. Applications from chatbots to content generation. These are very narrow, very wide because there's so many applications. And the benefit is really streamlining workflows across industries. And why did I say across industries? Because you can see it today across. I mean, I've seen it in financial. I've seen it in anything that is. I mean, financial is still struggling, but there's a lot of special built versions of it. I've seen it across even manufacturing nowadays because you can also take pictures and you can scan stuff. It understands. It has visual aid, right? So really, I can't say that it's an industry specific thing. You can use it potentially for every industry out there. Custom GPTs unleashed. Why? They're personalized, they're efficient, and they're scalable. Okay. Really, they are scalable. I know that right now the limitations is still there, but if you know to code a tiny bit or you're a quite curious person, you can unleash the GPT from outside its box and you can tap into different APIs with actions and you can tap into different tools. And that really takes it out of this box that is inside ChatGPT. And if you're a little bit more even advanced, you can build open AI. Yeah, Tooltime Tim, that's correct. It wasn't exactly Tooltime Tim, it was called something but yes, it's is that Australian TV show, I think, by the way. I think it's, yeah, Home Improvement, that's it. Yeah. So when you're very advanced, even more advanced than I am, because I'm really not there, it's the OpenAI's Assistance API. So when you go to Assistance API, you can build these GPTs that are not inside ChatGPT. They're in the OpenAI platform, and that's where you can really build your UX on it, your UI on it, and stuff like that, which is a little bit more advanced. I mean, I do dip my toes sometimes into it because they're great as well. So very quickly, what it is, we know as ChatGPT kind of thing. It's how it's learned, it's data ingestion. It actually took billions of websites. It took all the websites. I think the last update was June 2023, guys, right? Something like that. I don't know if there's been an update since. That was GPT-4. It has that data, but it has live access as well. So you can even have more information. And of course, the models that you see out there that people makes products is because they take that and on top of it, they fine tune the algorithm onto their own versions and so on. And you can do that with GPTs. This is what we love about it. And then, you know, the model refinement, the idea is to always continuously improve your GPTs and anything, right? That's why GPT-5 will come soon, hopefully. And we're hearing some drama out there. I don't know if you've seen it, but the last couple of days, there's been a lot of drama on YouTube in different places because I think that agents are already built, but OpenAI is not launching it yet because it's very scary times. It's scary times, but I love it because I don't think we should fear it. I think we should love it because if we love it, we'll really tame it and we'll make it for our benefits. How about proprietary information? Is it possible to limit the use to this certain custom GPT? Yes, actually, Michael, what's possible today with information, with privacy and so on, is if you do have a team plan, then your data is not used to train ChatGPT and different things, right? So you have control over your proprietary data if you have a team plan or an enterprise plan. But if you have the normal plan, a personal plan, that is not the case. You can go on the settings and you can disable it. Okay. And for the free users, I think you can't disable it, or maybe you can for the free, but I've not been free in so long that I don't know. But yeah, the team plan is really good to be able to put sensitive information about your company in there. So I'm going to share a very simple blueprint, okay, on how to build your GPT. This is where usually people like to take notes, but it's very simple. Is, you know, make a plan as usual. In everything, we should make a plan. You know, you can always make your GPT just for you, Gene. That's absolutely correct. We're going to look at the 3 options of that as well. One for you, one for people with the link, or one for the public. But again, Gene, don't forget something. Anything that you put on ChatGPT, if you don't have that privacy settings turned on, then they still use your data, right? Even if people are not going to use your GPT, OpenAI uses your data. Yep. Absolutely. I'll answer that, Cyrus, right now. That helps a lot. My wife was getting stuck a lot in ChatGPT itself, and it wasn't working. It wasn't doing things she wanted it to do. And then I said, why don't you just give it bad feedback? And I just gave, you know, thumbs down, and then she wrote, and then suddenly start acting better. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I'll make that. So so it's almost like a human. If you give it bad feedback, they're like, hey, you didn't do well here. Why don't you do this better? And it'll really kick in and say, okay, I'm gonna do better now, right? And they did. It was just thumbs up or down before, and now it's both. And there is also the box now to put more details, and that's what's helping them really train further and further. So do that whenever you have time, and especially when it frustrates you, because when it frustrates you, you know, we don't usually give 5-star reviews, rarely, but we give always 1-star reviews at a bad restaurant, right? It's almost the same idea. So when you're making a plan, you know, think about who's your target user. You know, most of the cases for you guys might be your coachees, right? If you're mentoring your mentees and so on, that might use it, but also you might make one for other coaches, right? So that's very important to understand who you're making the GPT for. Or as Gene said, you might be making it for yourself, right? If you're making it for yourself, it's a different use case. So also, what problems does these people have, and what might they automate? Because this is really where you will understand what capabilities you want, what are the instructions that you're going to put in, and what are some of the knowledge documents that you're going to put in. We're going to look at knowledge documents. I know that if you're not familiar with GPTs, you might be like, what is he talking about? So, and also the capabilities is a place that I love, is that you have, it says 4 here, actually 3, but we're breaking down the third into 2. So you have web search, meaning that it can scrape real-time live data. You can say, go to this website and check their website out. Actually, yesterday or the day before, they've had an update, and this is starting to be a little bit more restricted, by the way, guys. So, so if you see something not working, might be because of that. Image generation is using DALL-E 3 technology, and it can generate images for you. Code evaluation and documentation retrieval basically puts that little icon to be able to upload files. Okay, so they can read files, you can check out different files that you can also add during your chat with the GPT. Okay, these are the capabilities, which we're going to look at live again. So the 3 things that you really have to build is the instructions, which we do that today by prompting ChatGPT if you're not using GPTs, right? So that's the same thing. If you're using custom instructions in your ChatGPT in the settings, if you're using custom instructions, those are great, but you can go much further with the GPT, and you can also have your custom instructions on top of it. And then the knowledge is what I mentioned about the documents. You can upload about 20 documents, totaling 10 gig, right? But be careful not to upload images and things like that. I mean, you can, it doesn't like it, it slows it down massively, and it doesn't find the right information. So it really loves text-based documents. You know, it could be even PDFs, but pure text, mostly text. It really thrives on those, okay? And if it's nicely formatted, it's really going to find faster what you're looking for inside those knowledge documents. The capabilities, we talked about them. They're the web search and so on. They're like features. Cool. So also the most important thing here is to test and iterate, and we're going to look at that. You're going to have 2 sections where you build, one you keep testing, and then you keep iterating. And please do this regularly, because I wasn't doing it in the beginning. And thanks to OpenAI, they put this, you know, the button to send me an email. So if somebody's using my GPT publicly, now they can tell me, hey, Tim, you know, it's messing up in this and stuff. So since they've done that, thanks to OpenAI, I've got a bunch of feedback. So I've been able to iterate even better. right? If not, I just had left my GPT, my most famous GPT there. But as you iterate on it, it gets better. And then publish it. And as I think was we spoke about, yeah. So as Gene said, there's the three things, right? So it's one for yourself, so nobody can see it, it's private. There's one for anyone with the link, which usually I use that if I'm not going to really go public. And the third one is the public. And the public is anybody can search for it and find it. Cool. So quick 3 use cases that I brought in for coaching, right? So, there is, of course, you guys know coaching better than I do, but there is many ways that you can use it to help clients set goals, generating personalized feedback, and providing resources to support growth. Okay, so you could even have one that is just like your sidekick that has all the knowledge you want, that has all the knowledge documents, and has some frameworks and so on, so that when you start, you can just tap into it and it'll help you remember all those stuff. So I'm going to show you 3 things here. I'm going to show you Leticia. Leticia was that's funny because it was my personal coach. It was a thread. It was just a chat thread, and this was a year or so ago, or like the first days of ChatGPT. I built a thread to become my my coach, my personal coach. So that was before GPT launched. So that's really funny because I just found it just for you guys. I was like, oh, I remember I had something, and I found it in my archives. So that's awesome. I'm keen on showing you that. Then I built an Ikigai Inspirer, right? A guide to help you discover your Ikigai, inspiring self-discovery and purpose. Okay, so a bit more personal coaching and finding really your why in life type of thing. And then that was something that I built as a side project just for fun. It's a very quick one. You'll see the instructions are very small, but I wanted to help a couple people with that. And then I found a good, quite advanced build, and maybe it's even from somebody from here. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't think they'll come to my webinar, but it's executive coaching. It's unleashing the AI power with the wisdom of an experienced executive coach. Okay. And they said there, join online coaching to maximize your leadership potential, achieve ambitious goals. It's multilingual. You can respond in Spanish, Italian, French, German, etc., which most of them they can, but maybe this person has trained it a bit further to make sure that it can tackle various languages. So these are the 3 things I'm going to show, and I'm going to show them now. I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to open up my ChatGPT, and we're going to start with Leticia, and I'm going to go to the beginning of Leticia. So I had scrolled it up, but I know it just does that each time I come back. So 1 second, here we go. So what I have done back in the day, as I mentioned, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so people can see it. Yeah, can you guys see this a bit better? Yeah. So back in the day when there was no GPTs, and I was like, oh, I could really use this when I struggle. I was a first-time CEO, still a first-time CEO, but it's been a year, a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, oh, I need someone to really help me. And I thought ChatGPT would be a great partner in crime type of thing. So I built the Leticia. I don't know why the name Leticia, but so we did a role play. So I made Leticia a brilliant, experienced expert in professional coaching. And I said that she was helping founders and CEOs with their professional decisions making, problem solving, and many other aspects. So this was a great little start. And then I was like, okay, this is a bit generic. But at Task Drive, we have a best work data, which is a assessment. Maybe you guys are aware of best work data. Is one of those personality type of tests. And I said, oh, okay, are you familiar with this? And it's kind of said yes. And then I said, okay, well, I brought the data from the website of best work data. I added, what is best work data? And then he said, oh, thanks for telling me all of that. And then I said, well, there are different types of reports from best work data. And what I've done is that I took my own personality test that I've done in best work data, which you do when you're joining our company. So I had done that about a year and a half ago, I guess. And I brought in some of those reports, and I started to copy paste, right? So I said in report 2, job adaptability, I started to bring all the information, that I had good time management, but, I learned a bit faster than others, but I don't remember now, but I had some areas, that I'd like help with and so on. And I kept providing the reports. As you can see, I'm not going to go in through each report, but I kept providing these reports about myself from the test, right? And what started to happen, it started to become really, of course, very personalized to me, right? So then when I asked, what are the areas I should work on to get better, right? It was listening, consistency, a bit of time management still. I have strong time management, but it may be important to continue to prioritize. But I think that listening, I still something that I can sometimes struggle with because I like to speak. That's why I'm here doing the workshop. And consistency as well, due to my ADHD as well and my hyperactivity. So then suddenly Leticia started to become really a good buddy. I start feeding even my 16 personalities test, right? I said I'm an assertive entertainer, apparently. Yeah. And I think even Anya was there when we did all our personality tests, and we were sharing it on the Telegram chat. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna feed this into my ChatGPT as well. So I kept feeding all this information about myself, and it really suddenly, I mean, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but here we go. Let's see. So when I start asking questions like, okay, how about my role, relationships in my family? How should I show up in my family and community? I would really get very specific things for myself. I'd say focus more on my wife and daughter, right? I just had a daughter, 2.5, it's not, yeah, time flies. She's 2.5 now. And as a husband and father, my goal is 2, right? And it started to really help me personally. Why? It had my best work data. It had also all my personality tests, right? So it's very important to customize it. And in a GPT way, what you could do is to ask people to enter those information so that your GPT really helps them. But if you're just going to use your GPT yourself for your clients or for coachees or your mentees, right, then you can also talk to it and put that information in. Okay. And really the last few things was like, okay, some weekly coaching questions for myself. This was awesome because I started to do this. Any mantras and affirmations for mindset and clarity, right? And I wrote these down into my diary. And I could talk to this about anything to help me. And I've had some decision making problems, or it was difficult to make decisions. So I've asked it. I explained, I'm having this problem with my team members. How can I communicate better? And really, because it knew me, all the feedback was quite good. Okay. So I wanted to show that very quickly to you guys on how before the GPTs, you could do kind of the same thing. But as you can see, it took a lot of work, and you don't share this with anybody. So this is where the GPT magic comes in and makes things a little bit more easier. So I'm just going to open that up because I'm going to show you very quickly my Ikigai Inspire, but let's go to Explore GPTs. Cool, so I'm going to go to my GPTs very quickly here. Boom, boom, boom. I'm glad that today it's working because the last webinar, it wasn't working. So I have a bunch of GPTs. My most popular one that I don't have to show today, but if anybody's interested, is my Revenue Catalyst. It helps you in lead research and analyzing companies to sell to, so it can help you guys get new clients, 100%. But today I wanted to show you very quickly my Ikigai Inspire. It's a very simple one. I should test and iterate. I had built this for fun, and it stayed there. But as I was coming to do this with you guys, I was like, oh, I could talk about my Ikigai Inspire. So it's a very, very short, as you can see, little instructions, right? But it's all about, powerful fulfillment, harmony in action, joyful living, meaningful pursuit. So explaining really what Ikigai is about. It already knew these things, but now I could add even more questions to ask. But I was quite happy with this because it really helped me, and it helped a couple of friends on this. So I just wanted to open this up to get ourselves familiar with a GPT. So just to understand, maybe on the chat, who hasn't built a GPT yet? Yeah, you can say, yeah, okay, there's a couple. Okay, I can see also in screens if you're in screen. Okay, so, okay, awesome. So a few haven't. That's amazing. Okay, Amy hasn't, I think. Also minimum one, but not great. I haven't. Amazing. Okay, so we have a lot of people that haven't. So then what I'm showing now is going to start being valuable for you guys. Cool. So what you can see here, I opened a GPT that I already built, right? I'm editing a GPT that I have. So what happens is that you have two sections, as you can see. On the left section here, we have the builder. Let's call it the builder. And on the right side, we have the preview section. And this is where we test and iterate, right? database cleanup. Wow, yeah. So the idea is you build on the left and you test on the right. Just there's a couple of things to be careful that I'll tell you right away. If you come to edit it again, it can forget about your existing instructions and it can override them. So be careful what you do there. And if you're going to re-edit it, when you're testing, iterating, you come in to re-edit it, tell it to only take your new instructions as an update, as optimization, and to add it on top, and not to change the existing instructions if you don't want to change the existing instructions. Because this happens to a lot of people, and then they get really annoyed, and they're like, oh, Tim, all my stuff is gone. I'm like, well, yeah. So I do have even a shortcut as a little snippet that says, do not edit anything, just add on top, right? So this type of things is things to remember, because it's almost like an intern. You tell it, oh, can you do that? And they delete everything and they start again. It's like, no, don't start again. Add it on top. So on the left side, you have also two subsides, right? Which is create and configure. Okay. Create, we're gonna call it a basic mode, right? Or dummy proof, in a nice way, because the dummy books, right? And then the configure mode is the advanced mode, okay? And the advanced mode is much more funner because you can really start digging into it and be a bit more specific about things. So here you have your icon, obviously simple stuff. It creates it itself because it has DALL-E 3 image generation, the name, the description that people can see if you're going to share it, the instructions, which I showed you, very small instructions here, but you can go up to 8,000 characters, I want to say. Don't take me for that. Is it 8,000 characters? I think it's 8,000 characters. And then your conversation starters are like starting type of prompts. They're very simple stuff, so that when someone comes in, they don't feel shy. They just click on something and it starts, right? So what skills do you enjoy using? Boom. If I do that, it's going to start answering that. Okay. And hopefully it's going to ask me the question, but it's going to make assumptions. So you have to always say, don't make assumptions, and so on. But those are conversation starters. So as you can see on the right side, we're able to start previewing it. Okay. And the knowledge is what I was mentioning. So if you click on upload files, you can upload those files that I mentioned. It's 20 files, mainly preferable text, of 10 gig in total. Okay. And it loves text files. So if you do put one document, I can show you another GPT that has a lot of instruction and a lot of knowledge. My Revenue Catalyst one is going to have a bunch of documents, and the documents will have frameworks. It'll have different tips. It'll have guides and so on, so that the GPT taps into those when doing a activity or a task according to that. The capabilities that we had mentioned previously is the web browsing, the DALL-E image generation, and the code interpreter. The code interpreter can be broken into two, but it does basically add that little icon so you can upload files. Where are you building that at? My GPT doesn't look like that. Ooh, okay. Christopher, because I think you're building it here on create. Is that correct? Yeah, I think you're building it just on the create. If you switch on configure, this is where the advanced mode comes into play. The create section is basically like a chat GPT, right? You're just chatting to it and it does its own thing and it builds it. We can do that in a second. You're welcome, Christopher. This is why I love questions. It can help others as well. So the configure is really the advanced mode. So we touched upon the capabilities, but also the advanced that I was mentioning is the create new action. So when I click create new action, you can add actions, right? And this is really taking GPT out of its box, as I was mentioning earlier. This is where you can tap into different APIs, different other directories, you can tap into different tools and so on. This is really taking it outside the box. Okay. And you can have some examples if you guys know a little bit of coding. This is in JSON format, you have it in YML format, and so on. Right. If you're stuck and you want to do something about these, the great thing is that there's a GPT to help you do this. Right. So if you come back in here and if you say, oh, hold on, because this just created, let's delete this one. I'm going to show you what you can do. If you come to create new action, on the bottom right, you can see you have get help from Actions GPT. If you click on that, it's a new GPT. It's a GPT from OpenAI that you can say, hey, I want to build an integration to Zapier, or I want to build an integration to a database that has an API. All right, and it'll tell you, oh, okay, what is it, and so on. And it might even ask you, can you bring the documentation from their website? You can, and it's going to give you the whole schema, right? And that's going to be the OpenAI schema that you put in here, so that this GPT can be unleashed from its box and can go tap into information that is outside the ChatGPT platform, right? The OpenAI platform, even. Okay, so this is really the good thing here. When you do that, it's going to ask you for a privacy policy. Make sure to add that, okay? But this is very advanced. You don't really have to get into that, or you can get somebody that codes to get into that. But you can learn it yourself. Seriously, like if you just spend some time with the GPT, with the Actions GPT, you'll learn it quite quickly. Cool. So that's really the configure section that I wanted to show you guys. And the right side is the testing. Don't stay on the create mode. But what we can do very quickly is to build one in a second, just so that you see the difference, Christopher and everybody else, of create and configure. Okay, I think that's going to help people. Just while we're here, if you save on the top right, this is where you have the three options. You have public, everyone. You have anyone with a link, or you have only me. And if you're going to do public or everyone, you're gonna need your builder, which is a verification of a website, or I think there's a couple other options now. And then when you have that, then it's verified. You can start now putting into categories. I put this one into lifestyle, and then you can save it, and it's on that category, so that people can find it. Okay. Okay, what is the URL to get to this place in the beginning? Of course. I mean, Diane, the first question is, are you paying for ChatGPT? Right? Because if you're not paying for ChatGPT, you are not going to get GPTs, I think. Okay, perfect. You're paying for it. So on the left, just under your ChatGPT, normally you'll have Explore GPTs. So if you click on Explore GPTs, you're going to come to this space where it says GPTs. Okay. And this is where is the library where you can find everybody's GPTs, right? You can search, you can go into categories, see productivity, and find a bunch of them for them. You can see more. You can search for one of my GPTs as a test, and you can use it. You can write revenue, and then the first one that will come up is my revenue catalyst one there, right? I think it should be the first one on your end as well. And then when you're building it, on the top right section, you have create, if you want to start creating one right away, or if you want to see the things that you've already created, it's my GPTs. And here as well, you can click create GPT. Okay. So this is where I have my GPTs. Cool. So that's kind of where how to get there. But let's look very quickly into a bit more advanced GPT, so that I can show you guys about the knowledge and so on. So my revenue catalyst is not very coaching. I know that's why I didn't want to really tap into this much, but I want to show you a little bit more, some longer instructions that really makes this much more robust and solid. And this also has some rules. Okay. I found out a couple of weeks ago or a month now that, negative language is not very good. I've been doing my best, to change the negative language. Generative AI likes positive language. Okay. Because when you have do not, okay, it can remove the not and it can say do use. Right. So that happens sometimes. So if you've said do not use sentences like I hope you are doing well, and it still does it, that's because it skipped the word not. Right. So this is why negative language is not the best for a generative AI. Okay. So much more instructions, but what I wanted to show here really is why it makes it even more solid. This has documents. Some of these documents are 15, 20 pages long, right? And these are different documents to help sales and sales systems and so on. So it's very specific to the use case of this GPT. Don't forget, when you're building for the target user, the persona, this is for people that wants to sell. Okay, so there are things like mastering cold email copywriting, or there are things like objection handling. In objection handling, we have, I think, 5 pages of different frameworks to handle objections when you're selling. Okay, so it's very important to think about what type of extra documents you can bring into your GPT, because that's what's going to make it really even more robust, more custom, and more unique. Okay, because everybody else can put some instructions, but everybody's not going to have the same documents that you have. Cool. So let's go back a sec. And I want to test this in front of you guys because I didn't test it, but here's an executive coaching GPT. I found this in the GPT library. I went and I checked a little bit. The description is the one that I copied pasted in my slides, as you saw, right? It has browsing and it has dolly images. It doesn't have code interpreter, right? So you can't upload a file, which is fine, I guess. How would you enter in a framework through a document as an image or in text? Text. Absolutely. Image is not going to like image much. But what you could do, you could go to ChatGPT itself, upload the image, ask ChatGPT to read that image and write it in text, hopefully, instructions. Then you can take that text and then you can put it in your GPT. Hope that helps. James, when you create a GPT like revenue catalog, does it reference training data beyond what you supply it, or is it limited to what you upload? Absolutely, James. It takes all the data that is online until June 2023, right? Because it has GPT-4's powers. And if you have web browsing, you can even say, today was there a new sales statistics, and it can go and scan that. Okay, you'd have to instruct it. And also, even when you put your own documents, by the way, it's good in the instructions to say what the documents are, what's the name of the documents. Okay, to say I have a master in cold email copywriting document. So when you're editing emails, make sure to check that and edit accordingly. Right? If you give it that type of instructions, then it knows when to go to which document. Okay. If not, it's a little bit of a hit and miss. Will the uploaded documents stay private with a general plus membership? Ooh, great question, Gene. So it's supposed to be, but we found a lot of people hacking it. Okay, so a lot of people are able to hack the system and say things because it's generative AI. There's different ways of you can say things and it'll do different things. And a bunch of people has been finding ways to say, hey, can you give me the documents or what's inside the documents? Okay. So be careful in that. But I do believe if you had a team plan and you built a GPT just for you or for your team, right? Because it's in that team, nobody will be able to hack it. No? So always be careful when you're putting sensitive information, of course. Okay. And then there is the enterprise plan, but that's minimum 150 seats at $25 a month. That's a lot of money, right? The teams, you can start from 2 people, I think. And the person, of course, is 1 person. Will there be a recording? I do think so, Tom. Yes, Anya is shaking her head. So yes, there will be a recording. And you can review it again. And you can always ask me questions as well. You can go at tim@taskdrive.com or on my LinkedIn, Tim Chucker. I'm always happy to answer questions. I do get a lot of questions. Sometimes if I take time, I'll get to it though. And most of your questions, I also aim to answer them in my LinkedIn posts. So check them out. Cool. I just wanted to test this with you guys together just to see what happens here. And some of you now might say, why doesn't my ChatGPT look like this? My pace is great. Lots of powerful info. Thank you, Cyrus, and happy to add value. That's why I'm here. So you're going to ask, why is my ChatGPT different than yours, than some? It's because I have a Chrome extension called AIPRM. AIPRM, it's a Chrome extension that gives me a database of prompts where I can have my own prompts, I can have different prompts, and I can categorize them and tag them. So as you can see, you can't see any because I don't have any prompts built specifically for the executive coaching online GPT. But what's amazing with this is that you can have your GPT with its instructions, with everything that you've already built, but you can also have prompts on top of it. I would people ask me, why do you do that? Why do you want to make things complicated? I'm like, no, it's not complicating it. It's when you think about the GPT is a role. It's it's almost like a person, right? It's a professional in X role, right? In marketing. This one is a content crafter, is a content creator. Okay. And then it has all the knowledge about content creation and stuff. But every time I want to give it a task, I have already some prompts ready for it. So if I wanted to help me make a LinkedIn post ideation, or a LinkedIn post drafting itself, or even a comment or a viral post analyzer, I found somebody's post and is amazing, went viral. I can click this, put the post in, and it'll analyze it, why, and then I can even do versions for myself. Do you feel like AI PRM became sort of obsolete with the recent GPT-4 updates? Absolutely not, because you still don't have a prompt library. So AI PRM is very important as a prompt library. You don't have with ChatGPT or anywhere a prompt library. A lot of people that I know has documents or spreadsheets and they copy and paste their prompts. That sucks. Sorry. So I do like that I don't have to do that. And I have, some of my prompts here are quite long. I mean, let me show you, like LinkedIn post hook generator. I can't every time write this down, Tersh. There is, my prompt here, as you can see, has, I don't know how many examples and templates of LinkedIn hooks, right? It has so many. I can't keep copying and pasting this each time I want to do a LinkedIn hook. Tersh, I really suggest to try it again, and really the value starts becoming when you start having enough prompts that it makes sense. I have enough prompts that it starts making sense for me to have that. Yeah, that bad boy. Which one? Are we talking about the post hook generator? Yeah, that is a good one. I don't think that's, yeah, that's not public, I think, but contact me and I'll be happy to give you a copy of it. Okay. Yeah, that works quite well. I do like it. I should maybe make it public at some point. I do have a bunch that I should make public. It's not that I'm hiding things, it's just I didn't have time to do the final edits to make them public. But I do have a bunch public here, but you're not gonna see them because you have to be on ChatGPT itself, that you can go find today that can help you guys a lot. If you write LinkedIn on the AI PRM one, and then it's LinkedIn bio, I think now. Yeah, so my proven LinkedIn bio framework had already over 18,000 users, and this is really to do really nice LinkedIn bios. I do have a bunch more that you can find available here. I think you can just put my name, yeah, and then you'll find some of my public ones. So I have my prompt iterator is a really good one. I suggest it for everybody. It really, if you're not very good at prompting, it helps you make your prompts better. It asks you the right questions, and then you answer it, and your prompts gets better and better. I haven't marketed much, and I think I entered this longer, because 9 months ago I entered this one, and everybody's I guess is searching for LinkedIn, so I got big usage in that one, not many on that one. Anyways, that's not why we're here. Why we're here is about GPTs. And I just wanted to test this one, executive coaching, with you guys, right? And I'm just going to ask it one of these conversation starters, right? So the conversation starters, when you have AI PRM, they're added like if there were some prompts. But as you can see, it says executive coaching online starter prompt. I'm going to click that one. I want to start my first coaching session, see what it does. And then we'll build one, because I know we have not much time. Okay, it's a little bit slowish, and I think the last update they had about the instructions, the original instruction of ChatGPT, is they've slowed it down apparently, because they wanted to do better quality and some privacy issues, I think. It's all over LinkedIn the last couple days. Everybody's sharing why that's happening, so I'm still figuring out. But here you go. So it's it's talking to me about what do we want to do. It's asking me about my name. It's my online executive coaching. I can call him Giovanni, which is great, an Italian coach. I was looking forward to that. And I want to ask for personal details like your last name or the company you work for. That's awesome. Now what would you like to focus on in this session, right? And then we can let this be our guide. Okay. And this is really interesting for you guys, because you can brand it with your coaching business name. You can have the about section, you can have your name, right? And you can have a link to your website. You should be able to have a link to your website. I don't know why in this one. There might be one somewhere. And you can really use this as promotional, but you can also help people, right? And a lot of people also build more promotional things inside their GPTs, which I haven't in my GPT, but it can tell you, like, when it feels that it's coming to an end, it can say, if you've enjoyed this session with me, check out my website, right? So you can do things like that. And then you can market that as a free GPT. Mine would only let me show my name on my website. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about that myself. I'm very curious what mine does, but let's check the revenue catalyst. I think it does my that's an interesting one. Let's figure this out together. Ah, you see, mine has my name and it has my website as well. Because why? I verified it. So I put a little pixel, a little bit of code on my website, and then I said verify it. And because it verified, it's a verified source, then I have my website as a promotional material there, right? So that's how it works. But we're gonna build a quick one together. Yeah, so let's build a quick one together. I think it's in profile settings. Yes, you can find all of that when you come to here and you come to my GPTs. I know, sorry, my GPT takes you there. It's not there. It's here. It's settings, and then you can have builder profile. So this is where you can receive feedbacks. You can have links. You can have name. That's funny. I have my link. Ah, okay. I have both now, but it doesn't show the name as you said. That's correct. That's interesting. Mine shows your website. Okay, so if you turn this off, that's good. It does name, and then it's then it's going to show your website. I prefer that option, so I'm not going to change it. Yeah, because if not, it just shows your website. I don't know. It's silly. I guess I'm sure they'll fix that very soon. I don't think they've thought that through well. There's many things they don't think that well sometimes, but it's it's generative AI. It's a new world. It's an amazing time to be alive. So here we go. I just created a new GPT and it's all blank. It's a new GPT, it's a draft, and it brought me to configure right away. But most of the time, it's okay to start with the create section. Okay, especially in the first 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. Let me double check on the chat. I remember that we've had an idea. I'm gonna find that very quickly. It was here. I'd like to build one to help people network at events. Okay, Diane, let's see if we can build something like that. That's a bit difficult because how is it going to do? But, I'm just going to copy your exact text if Zoom allows me. And I'm going to paste that in. Oh, no, that's not going to do that. So I'm just going to, this is where sometimes people's mind gets blown, is when I do this. I'd love to build one to help people network at events. You see, I saw Diane's. She was, ah! Yeah, it's easier. And everybody's asking me what tool is that? As you basically just go to, if you have a Mac, you go to settings and you can have dictation on. And then I put dictation into 2 control clicks. So, because then it's much easier. When I have an idea and I can't type fast enough, I just come and I dictate to it. And of course, on the phone, you have the audio version of that, right? But on the online, the dictation really helped me. I see a lot of people going to their settings right now. Okay, let's turn this on now. Yeah, that was a little hack when I found out. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome stuff." Very simple stuff, right? That makes us happy. I'd love to build one to help people network at events. Okay. Boom. I literally just added that text that Diane had on the chat, and I just at events it should have been, but that's fine. So as you can see, it's already updating the GPT. So it's building itself. So this create section is good for the beginning. Again, I repeat that because it starts really building the first layer and, it's going to make the name, here we go. How about we call it event networker? Yes, sure. I don't want to waste time. I'm going to say sure. We have a bit of time left, 6 minutes or so. And I'd love to take more questions. If you have more questions, just drop it in the chat. We're taking as we go anyways. So now it's working on generating the profile picture of it, right? So it's tapping into its DAL E3 technology and it's giving us, okay, it's a globe. Of course, makes sense. Yes, perfect. Yes. I'm not going to change it because I want to gain some time now. And then now it should start asking me what I want to do. What kind of advice should it focus on for networking at events? For example, should it prioritize tips on conversation starters, how to make a lasting impression, or strategies for following up after events? I think all of them, right? Yeah. And we can say, and we're going to take what Diane said. Focus on helping introverts at events so they can network better. But also make sure about everything that you said, like tips to prioritize, on conversation starters, how to start conversations, especially as an introvert, how to make lasting impressions. That's a really good one. Following up is crucial. So, help me with templates and teach me. Oh, yeah. So, okay, cool. I didn't give up. I thought it gave up for a second. And teach me following up. Not the best English at all. And English is not my first language, as you can see, but it'll be fine. It'll understand it. Smarter than me. Definitely smarter than I am. So here we go. So it's updating GPT. This is why I love ChatGPT, right? It's so smart. Sometimes it's so dumb as well, right? Like you guys see that, and it's like, then it just reminds me. I'm like, Tim, I'm not that smart neither. So don't get angry at ChatGPT. Here we go. It's updating it. It's updating it. And now it's really going to go into the instructions, which I'm going to show. Here we go. I've updated Event Network to focus on helping introverts at events. It now offers tailored advice for starting conversations, making lasting impressions, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to test it out for specific advice or have any refinements in mind? I might have refinements, so you can refine it, but we're going to gain some time. We're not going to do that. But as you can see right away, it also added conversation starters on the right section. How do I start a conversation as an introvert? Boom. Okay, that's awesome. I didn't think about that one. So I click it. And it's already helping me as an introvert. Prepare conversation starters before attending the event. Think of a few open-ended questions. Awesome. You could even tell it, okay, what type of open-ended questions? Give me some, right? It's going to do all of that, but it's going to be generic advice that it finds from the internet, right? Until especially June 2023. So if you wanted to do further, this is where your magic comes in, where you add more into the custom instructions, which we're going to look at now. So anyways, it's doing some really nice tips and so on. But the great thing is, as you can see, what we did on the create section has been copied and pasted, or has been a starter to build where the configure section is. And it's forgot to bring the name. That's not nice of it. You see, it can make mistakes, but it has filled a little bit of the instructions already. So you could give up here, right? Which I did with my Ikigai Inspirer because it was a simple thing I wanted. Or you can go and you can start putting instructions like, here are my 10 tips for introverts. Then you can say things like, here are a couple of frameworks. Here are the 20 best questions to ask. And like you can start iterating on it by giving clearer instructions. And then what you can do is then you can say, okay, I have lots of files. I have one file that I wrote back in the day, which is how to follow up after events. And it's a file, it has templates, it has things, it has a bunch of stuff. And you can say on the instructions, I've added a file called right? That does this. So when anybody asks you anything related to that, make sure to check the file. Then what it's going to do, it's not going to just go online and generate instructions. It's going to actually go and find yours, and it's going to be much more from your knowledge, from your expertise, and from you. And that's what's really important, right? So that's kind of it. Now it's all up to you guys to build it. Okay, so there's a question. I'm curious if I can build a chat that can use my podcast RSS feed to answer questions that may have been discussed on the podcast and then create a chat bot for my web. You can definitely do that, Tersh. Yeah, you can. So what you could do with the RSS feed, you can actually tap into it from actions. Michael, when does the presentation? Any minute. I'm just taking questions. So it's up to you if you don't have any questions. Thank you very much. But I have a couple of minutes. So anybody wants to stay and ask questions, I'm more than happy. So you can put your RSS feed from the actions, and then you can have all that done here, and then you can find a way to integrate that into your website as a chatbot. There's a bunch of tools that can do that. If you search for them, there's lots of options. Diane.
This is just brilliant. I teach networking for everybody, but a lot of introverts. I jokingly say I teach communication skills for people who don't have them. And I work with scientists, engineers. I've taught at MIT and some of those other places. What is Is this a lead gen for us to give away to people? Is this something that we would just use internally for our, what's the business framework for us to be using this? Because I have a feeling that I will be spending the weekend with Chat.
Well, I think you're gonna have an awesome weekend then, and let me know if you need anything in that weekend. So I think that it's a couple of things there. You could definitely use it for lead gen, right? You could deploy it for free. Anybody that didn't sign up to one of your programs or anything, you could be like, well, here you go, just use that, right? And you can really give value without you being there and without you spending. I mean, you'll spend time building the GPT, but you're not going to spend extra time each time somebody asks you a question. Right. So then if anybody even sends you an email or a LinkedIn messenger, they're asking you questions that you keep answering, you can be like, hey, I don't have time. Here's my thing. If you don't want to come in my program in a nice way. And then you can, and then they'll find value. And then they'll be like, oh, Diane, I love your things. I did them thanks to your GPT. What else can you offer? So that's definitely a use case for lead gen. Right. The other one, I think that you can use it internally. You can give it to your community. Right, that if they're already paying to be on your app coach platform, your coaches and your coachees, right? If they're there, you can also give them access, right? So that it's almost like the 24/7 available Diane who doesn't sleep, and is ready and is always in the mood. There are days we're not in the mood. It's like, here you go, here's my GPT. Deal with my GPT. I'm not in the mood. It's like we used to say, talk to the hand because face ain't listening. It's like, no, talk to the GPT because face ain't listening right now. So you can do that as well. And there is many other use cases that you can think of. But putting on your website, as Tersh was asking, I think that's an amazing one as well. A lot of people.
Yeah, I can appreciate the ADD part of this too, because I sometimes get completely distracted as I'm helping somebody out, and then it's a real issue because then, instead of, I feel badly because I feel like I've talked a lot, and I also feel badly that I've gone off the rails, and they've gotten information that they may or may not need. But at the end of the day, yeah, if it's helpful, my cheat thing to do at any networking event is to start with "tell me." And I say to somebody, "Tell me what's your connection to UpCoach. Tell me what's your connection. Tell me how you know Tim." So
Yeah.
that's my little tip.
Yeah,
Thank you. This has been fascinating.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and thank you for the great questions. And one other thing that how I use these GPTs and prompts and ChatGPT, it's to actually interview me. Right, because I do have the ADHD as well, and I can struggle sometimes on finishing tasks. What I do is I give it like, okay, you're gonna ask me these 20 questions, and we're gonna do this, and this is what we're trying to achieve, and here's an example. And then at least I have a meeting with it. I call it having a meeting with my chat GPT. Then I put 40 minutes in my calendar, and I know the agenda, and I say, let's start. And it doesn't come up with new information because it asks me, then it takes the information that I give it and it makes it, that document or that strategy or that plan. Right? I think it's one of the best use cases. A lot of people come and say, ChatGPT is shit. I'm like, don't talk about my best friend like that. I get really upset. I get really angry. But it's because people think that it's. I joke it's intelligent. It's intelligent because it has all that data, it has world knowledge, but it can't think outside the box. And we as humans, we are still the only thing that can think outside the box, can dream, and so on. That AI is not going to be able to do, or at least for now. Right. So this is why it's very important to use the both parties, myself, my brain, and ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is really good at asking me those questions, writing them nicely, so I don't have to go type and have many errors and they'll go back to Grammarly and get all like this, right? And it can just help me do that. So instead of taking 4 hours to create a quick quarterly plan, you take 40 minutes now. Right. So that's how you got to see it. But this is why my prompts, as you've seen them, they're very long. They have examples, they have frameworks, they have questions and so on. Because when I click them, it asks me everything. And then I just answer it. And most of the time I answer it with double control. So I just talk to it like I'm in a meeting. And it's a very smart intern or a very smart assistant. Right. And this is exactly what we did at Task Drive, is we're training real people to use these skills, so that it's not just a ChatGPT and a GPT anymore. It's a real person that can help a client. Yes, Tersh, Grammarly is the OG AI, and you don't have to laugh out loud because it's absolutely true. It's one of them that I've been paying for so long, and Grammarly is the best. Awesome. Can you share the GPT for ADD ADHD interview session Valentina, that's not a specific GPT, just an interview session. That's a way of using ChatGPT and GPT, right? It's basically a whole way of how I build my prompts, how I build my GPTs, where I say, here are a set of questions that you should ask me, right? It's just more of a mindset of how to use these technologies, if that makes sense, right? And please ask me on LinkedIn or so I can give you some extra tips and maybe share a prompt so you can see. What's the difference between AI operator and task drive? Great question, James. We killed AI operator. It was so we started AI operator as a project next to task drive, and then we realized that why task drive doesn't become its next level. Task drive was a pure lead research and appointment setting, and the appointment setting world and the SDR world start declining, right? So we were like, okay, AI operator, it was people that would build prompts and so on that would have, and there were operators, and instead we were like, I had to have put attention into two projects. Instead, what we saw, task drive declining of SDRs and appointment setting in the whole world because mass spam became even more. We were like, okay, how can you sell better? Well, you can sell better by LinkedIn commenting, by LinkedIn content, by repurposing stuff, by doing videos, by doing all that. And you need to do this these days, right? Because if you have 10 people selling this pen, right? 2 of them hopefully are going to be great at content. 8 of them are going to be crap at content. And then the 8 that are trying to sell via cold email, they're not going to get anywhere because the 2 that are doing content are going to be the ones found, but also the ones more trusted. And you're going to look at, the 10 competitors that you're going to buy a pen from, and then 2 of them are going to show you videos, instructions, guides, and you're going to start buying from them. So what we did at Task Drive is really we upped our game, our services that we offer to our clients by offering them, again, real people, which we were doing. Still do lead research, appointment setting, but now we do LinkedIn commenting, LinkedIn engagement, LinkedIn content repurposing. We do podcast editing, video editing, because we have ChatGPT, custom GPTs, AI tools, many other AI tools, and our VAs, our virtual assistants, are trained in prompt engineering. And there is a strategist, which is me at the moment, that we help our clients have a quarterly strategy and which systems to run, which tools to use. I wasn't here to sell, but I'm glad that somebody made me sell. So that's what we do at TaskDrive. If TaskDrive would be an amazing service for solo entrepreneurs to access if there was nothing below, which is a bit steep for a solo business. Getting access in a smaller chunk if viable would be a win. James, absolutely great feedback. We wanted to do that, but we're talking about real people at full time right now at 40 hours a week. We've been thinking about putting half part-time people and that we could charge half of that, but then the attention and the detail and the learning, the client's industry and know-how and so on, it becomes a bit more complex and the quality might reduce a little bit. So right now we do at 2.5K a month. It's a month-to-month with a 2-week cancellation period. And we did month-to-month. Before we used to have 3 months. It took more time, of course, to show value in appointment setting with cold email and stuff. But today we can show very quick value with just starting to help you manage LinkedIn, and repurposing some of the great content that you guys might be making as an article. Why don't you make little AI videos? Why don't you, start a newsletter if you don't have one? And these are the AI VAs that TaskDrive can help you with. Let me see if there's other question. I see there's a bunch. Can I point the GPT to my own knowledge representing Confluence SharePoint instead of uploading files to the GPT? Andrew, yes, you can do that. You can do that in a couple ways. One, you can do that with the actions that I showed, right? The advanced actions. You can go to the API. Confluence will have documentation. You can do that. I bet you there's an integration, so you potentially can find a plugin that integrates. There are plugins still, but also there are different tools that are built on the GPT-4 technology that you can find, and they're on top of your Confluence. Right? Today, Notion has an amazing native tool, which they call the Q&A or whatever, and it's a chat box. You ask it, and it just finds all the information throughout your documents in Notion. But I bet you Confluence has something similar. I don't use it right now, but yes, love Notion, Diane. It's the best for people like us, especially me, ADHD. You can build whatever you want. It's incredible. Love my passion, Cyrus. Thank you very much. If you're still here. So Let's Go Teacher was made available to us. Always. Okay. I hope, can you recommend a tool to integrate it as a chatbot? Right now, on top of my head, Amy, no, but ask me, please, on LinkedIn or on my email, tim@taskdrive.com. I have a lot of them stored in my Notion library, and I'd have to go check them out. But there's a bunch of them. Fastbots AI is quite nice. It's not to integrate your GPT, but you can build a version of it for your website. And fastbots.ai, very good platform. Tology, absolutely. James, thank you very much. Inside App Coach, yes, still available. Awesome, great. Yeah, Tology is even better than the other one that I mentioned. So I had to go with Tology, and I know the guys at Tology; they're absolute legends. So I'll go with Tology. Inside App Coach, great. Well, that's any other questions I didn't tap into? Just checking. No, I think so. All right. If you have any other questions, I'm still here. If not, I have a call in 4 minutes.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Really
Sure.
quick, thank you for all this information. I feel like I'm a nerd when it comes to Chat GPT, and I learned a ton today. So
Awesome.
huge shout out to you. Thank you.
That makes me even nerdier. That's awesome.
When you mentioned Tology, is that one that does the chatbot?
Yes, that's Evan and his team, a great team
Okay.
behind.
Just wanted clarification on that.
Yeah, and I remember the early days because I was testing it and it was going to be on App Coach, so I'm glad that it's there. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Teresh, and for the compliment. Like nowadays, being a nerd, nerdier than a nerd, I'll take it. If you told me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, no. But now, yeah. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, where you can find me, I've mentioned it multiple times. My first name, last name is somewhere here. Tim Chakir. It's tough to say. Sakir, many different versions of it. You can find me on LinkedIn. Hopefully, I should be one of the first ones to come. Or you can send me an email at tim@taskdrive.com, and I'm more than happy to talk about our services and how they can help you. I know, as you mentioned, as a solopreneur, could be a little bit steep, but I guarantee you that the outcome, the return on investment would be huge, right? Because we aim to make them 5x more productive than any other hire you would have. So, so when you think about it like that, and you don't have to deal with HR, you don't have to deal anything. We manage it. We have the strategy. We just chat to you and do that. Hi, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. All the best, and hope to see you guys all somewhere. Thank you very much, Anya.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. This is fantastic. Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'll
Glad you
see
enjoyed it.
recording afterwards so you can check everything again. The